The alarm woke Captain at 3 in the morning. He grabbed his phone and saw the emergency message. Something had crashed near the old border zone. Something big. 20 minutes later, stood in his uniform, watching soldiers surround a smoking crater. In the center lay a ship unlike anything he had ever seen. It was made of something that looked like glass and metal mixed together. Parts of it glowed with soft purple light. Other parts were broken and dark. "Sir, we're detecting life signs," said Lieutenant Jin, holding a scanner. 47 of them, maybe more. Walked closer to the ship. The air smelled strange, like rain and electricity. A door on the ship's side opened slowly. White mist poured out. Then he saw them. The aliens were tall and thin, taller than any human. Their bodies were covered in something that looked like crystal. The crystals caught the moonlight and threw rainbow colors everywhere. Under the crystal, could see they had soft bodies like jelly. The crystals were like armor, but many were cracked and broken. One alien stepped forward. Its crystals glowed orange, then shifted to blue. It raised a long arm. "Please," it said. The voice came from a device on its chest, translating into Korean. "We mean no harm. We are refugees. We need help." Had trained for many situations. Alien refugees was not one of them, but he saw the fear in the aliens' movements. He saw the children hiding behind the adults. He saw the injured lying on the ground. "I am captain of the Earth Defense Force," he said. "You are on Earth in Korea. What happened to you?" The aliens' crystals shifted to dark purple. We are the people. We were cast out from the stars. They destroyed our world. They hunted us across space. We came here because no one watches Earth. Please let us land properly. Let us explain." By morning, the news had spread across the entire world. Aliens had come to Earth. Real aliens. Not for conquest or trade, but asking for help. Doctor arrived at the site by helicopter. She was Korea's best, though until today, that meant she studied theories and possibilities. Now she stood face to face with real alien life. She watched as medical teams carefully moved the injured to temporary shelters. Every time someone touched them wrong, pieces of their crystal shells cracked and fell off. Under the crystal, their bodies were soft and vulnerable. They bled a liquid that sparkled like glitter. "Be gentle," told the medics. "Their outer layer protects them. Without it, they can die from infection or simple injuries." Approached her. The old's crystals were dull and covered in scars. "You understand our nature quickly, doctor. Your people are clever." "Tell me what happened," said. "Why are you here?" Crystals dimmed to gray, the color of sadness. "Do you know of the Galactic Concordat?" Shook her head. "They rule most of the galaxy. Thousands of species, millions of worlds. They offered us a place among them, but they wanted to use our bodies. Our crystals can store vast amounts of energy. They wanted to turn us into living batteries, living weapons. We refused. So they exiled you. Worse, they declared us resource waste. They said if we would not be useful, we had no right to exist. They destroyed for 3 generations we have run. Every planet we found, they forced us to leave. Finally, we came to Earth. You have no power in the galaxy. The Concordat ignores you. We hoped you would ignore us too. Let us hide here." Felt cold. "How many of you are left?" "These 47 are all that remain of the people." The global summit happened 3 days later. Every major nation sent representatives. Watched from the observer room as politicians and leaders argued. The meeting was broadcast to billions of people worldwide. "We should hand them over," said the American delegate. "The Concordat has offered to open trade with Earth if we cooperate. This could advance humanity by centuries." "They are refugees fleeing genocide," the Korean representative countered. "We have laws about this. International laws, human rights laws. Do we abandon our principles for technology?" "Human rights," the Chinese delegate laughed. "They are not human." "Then what are they?" The Korean representative stood up. "Are they things, resources? The Concordat calls them resource waste." Should we agree? Should we say that beings with language, culture, children, that they are just materials to be used? The Russian delegate spoke quietly. The question is practical. Can Earth fight the Concordat if they come for the? Silence filled the room. No, the Korean representative admitted. We cannot fight them, but we can choose who we are. We can choose what humanity means. The vote was close. Some nations voted to grant asylum. Others voted to surrender the. Many abstained, too afraid to choose. In the end, South Korea made the decision alone. They would grant the temporary sanctuary. They would not hand them over. Other nations could do as they wished. Captain found standing outside the shelter, looking at the night sky. The old crystals glowed soft blue. That is our old star, said, pointing. We can still see it from here, or what is left of it. The Concordat destroyed it. They made it collapse. Billions died in minutes. Our entire history, our cities, our art gone. We saved only what we carry in our genetic memories. Genetic memories. Touched his chest. We do not write down history, Captain. We store it in our cells. Every carries the memories of their ancestors. I remember my great-great-grandmother's first day of school. I remember wars from 1,000 years ago. I remember the last day of our world. Try to imagine carrying all that weight. That must be painful. It is also beautiful. We remember every kindness, every achievement, every moment of joy. We are a people of memory, turn to look at. And now we will remember Earth. We will remember that when we had nothing, when we were hunted and broken, one small nation said no more. We will remember Captain and Doctor and all the humans who chose mercy over safety. The Concordat will come, said. Yes, they will come. What will they do? Crystals turned dark red. They will make an example of you. They will show the galaxy what happens when someone says no to them. I am sorry, Captain. We brought this to your world. Looked up at the stars. Somewhere up there an empire waited. An empire that destroyed worlds, and Earth had just told them no. You didn't bring this, said. We chose this. Every choice has a price. We decided your lives matter more than our safety. Now we live with that choice. Above them, the stars looked beautiful and cold and full of danger. Neither of them knew it yet, but somewhere in the dark, a Concordat ship was already turning toward Earth. 3 months had passed since they arrived. The temporary shelters near the border had been replaced by a proper habitat on island. The dome was made of glass and steel, with climate control systems that kept the temperature perfect for the crystalline bodies. Stood outside the habitat, checking the power connections. He was young, only 25, but he was one of Korea's best engineers. When the government asked for volunteers to help, they signed up immediately. The connection is still unstable, said a voice behind him. Turned and saw one of the younger. His crystals were bright green, which had learned meant curiosity and friendliness. I am trying to adapt our power grid to your needs, explained. But your people use energy differently than we do. Show me the problem, said. They worked together for hours, explained how crystals could store and release energy in ways human batteries could not, showed how human electrical systems worked. By evening, they had created something new, a hybrid system that was more efficient than either species could have built alone. Your people are clever with your hands, said. His crystals glowed warm orange. We lost much of that when we became refugees. We spent so long running, we forgot how to build. Smiled, then we will remember together. In Seoul, Doctor worked in her new laboratory. The government had given her everything she asked for. They wanted to understand the completely, but had discovered something that worried her. She looked at the genetic scans on her screen. The DNA was unlike anything on Earth. It was incredibly complex, with structures that seemed to serve no biological purpose. Unless. Computer, run pattern analysis on the non-coding sequences, she said. The computer worked for several minutes, then results appeared on the screen. Hands began to shake. The non-coding DNA was not random. It was information, vast amounts of information stored in genetic code. She was looking at this genetic memory, and it was not just their own history. It was the history of dozens of other species. Saw fragments of languages she had never heard, images of worlds that no longer existed, scientific knowledge from civilizations that were gone. They did not just remember their own past. They remembered the past of every species they had ever met. She picked up her phone and called Captain. "I know why the Concordat wanted them dead," she said when he answered. Had been working with refugees for 15 years. She had helped people from war zones, disaster areas, and collapsed nations. But helping alien refugees was new. She sat in the habitat's common area, listening to tell stories to the young. The children's crystals shifted through rainbow colors as they listened. They looked almost human in their joy and curiosity. Ms. said, noticing her, "Come sit with us. Join the group. What story are you telling?" "I am telling them about the people. They lived 3,000 years ago on a world with 3 suns. They were artists. They could paint with light itself. The Concordat conquered them, took their world for mining. They tried to resist peacefully. The Concordat destroyed them as a lesson to others." "You remember them?" asked. "One survivor came to our world long ago. She shared her genetic memory with us before she died. Now every carries the memory of the. We are the only ones left who remember they existed." Looked at the young children. Each one carried the weight of civilizations. Each one was a living library of the dead. "The Concordat does not want witnesses," continued quietly. "They write history to make themselves look noble. We remember the truth. That is why they hunt us." The message arrived on a Tuesday morning. Every radio, television, and computer screen on Earth showed the same thing: a tall alien with smooth gray skin and cold eyes. "People of Earth," the alien said, "I am Prime Executor Thane of the Galactic Concordat. We are aware you harbor 47 refugees. These beings are criminals who stole Concordat property, their own bodies. They were scheduled for resource integration. By hiding them, you have interfered with Concordat law." Captain watched the broadcast from Defense Headquarters. His commanding officers stood around him, their faces pale. "We offer Earth a simple choice," Thane continued. "Surrender the within 10 standard days. In exchange, we will grant Earth provisional membership in the Concordat. You will gain access to advanced technology, trade routes, and galactic markets. Refuse, and you will be classified as a hostile civilization. The consequences will be severe." The screen went black. 10 days, General said. He was the oldest officer in the room, a veteran of 3 wars. "Can we fight them?" "No," said another officer. "Intelligence suggests the Concordat has weapons that could destroy Earth from orbit. We have nothing that can touch them." "Then we surrender the," General said. "No," said firmly. Everyone turned to look at him. "Captain, be realistic," General said. "We are talking about the survival of the human race." "We are talking about our souls," replied. "They asked us for help. We said yes. If we hand them over now, what are we? Just another species that chooses survival over principle. Principles do not matter if we are all dead. Then what is the point of being alive?" The debate spread across the world. Every news channel showed people arguing. Some said Earth should surrender the. Others said humanity should stand firm. Protests filled the streets of every major city. In the habitat, they prepared for the worst. They knew what would happen if they were returned to the Concordat. Resource integration meant being placed in machines, kept alive artificially, used as living batteries until their bodies broke down completely. Found standing by the window, looking at the ocean. "Your people are arguing about us," said. His crystals were gray, the color of resignation. "Yes," admitted. "You should give us to them. Your world is beautiful. Your people are good. You should not die for us. Is that what you want? Crystals flickered through many colors, blue, red, purple, orange, showing confused emotions. I want my people to live. I want your people to live. Both things cannot happen. Maybe they can, said. We are clever, remember, you said so yourself. How can cleverness fight an empire? I do not know yet, but we have 10 days to figure it out. On day 7, Ambassador met with the diplomatic staff. She had been chosen to deliver Earth's official response to the Concordat. The weight of that responsibility pressed down on her. The vote is split, her assistant said. Half the UN wants to surrender, half wants to refuse. No majority either way. What about the people? Asked. Public opinion is surprising. Polls show 68% want to protect even when told it might mean war. Looked at the reports. Millions of people had taken to the streets, not to protest but to form human chains around the habitat. They stood in shifts, day and night, creating a living barrier. The message was clear. To take the Concordat would have to go through humans first. They are teaching us something, said softly. Who? They spent generations running, hiding, trying to survive, but they never forgot who they were. They never stopped being witnesses to the truth. Now we have to decide who we are. Are we the species that surrenders innocence to save ourselves, or are we something better? She picked up the communication device. In 3 days she would speak to Prime Executor Thane. She would deliver Earth's answer, and she knew, deep in her heart, what that answer had to be. Outside her window, the protests continued. Signs in 100 languages said the same thing. We stand with the. Humanity had made its choice. Day 10 arrived like a storm. The Concordat ship appeared in Earth's orbit at exactly noon, Greenwich Mean Time. It was massive, 5 times larger than anything humanity had ever built. Its hull was dark metal that seemed to absorb light. Weapon ports lined its sides like the eyes of a spider. Captain stood in the command center, watching the ship on the main screen. Around him, every defense station was active. Every satellite was tracking the threat. But everyone in the room knew the truth. If the Concordat wanted to destroy Earth, there was nothing humanity could do to stop them. Ambassador is ready to transmit, Lieutenant Jin reported. Put her through, said. The screen split. On one side, the Concordat ship. On the other, Ambassador in her office in Seoul. She wore traditional Korean formal dress. Her face was calm but could see the tension in her shoulders. This is Ambassador of Earth, she said. We are ready to deliver our response to the Concordat's demands. Prime Executor Thane appeared on screen. His gray face showed no emotion. Speak, Ambassador. Have you gathered the for transfer? Took a breath. When she spoke, her voice was steady and clear. No, we have not. Silence, even through the screen, could feel the shock ripple through the Concordat ship. You refuse? Thane asked. We refuse, confirmed. They have been granted full asylum under Earth's laws. They are under our protection. We will not surrender beings who have committed no crime to be used as resources. This is our final answer. Thane's face darkened. You understand what you have chosen. Your species is primitive. You have no allies, no weapons that can challenge us. We could destroy your world in hours. We understand perfectly, said. We choose to stand with the anyway, because that is what makes us human, not our weapons or our power, but our refusal to abandon those who need help. If you must destroy Earth for that choice, then destroy us. But you will not have not today, not ever. For the first time, Thane showed emotion. His face twisted with rage. You choose extinction for 47 refugees. Your people are insane. Maybe we are, replied. Or maybe we understand something you have forgotten, that some things matter more than survival. History will remember this moment, Executor Thane. They remember everything. Even if you destroy Earth, even if you destroy them, their memories are stored in genetic code. Someday, someone will find those codes. They will see what happened here. They will know who we were and what we chose. Can you say the same about the Concordat? In the habitat on island, the gathered together. Their crystals glowed in waves of color, fear, sadness, determination, gratitude, all mixed together. Stood at the center. The old's body was failing. Cracks had appeared in his crystal shell that would never heal, but his mind was still sharp and his genetic memory was complete. They will attack, said. The Concordat does not tolerate defiance. They will make an example of Earth. Then we should surrender, said one of the younger. We cannot let the humans die for us. It is not your choice, said. His crystals pulsed bright green. Explained it to me. The humans chose this knowing the cost. To surrender now would dishonor their choice. It would make their courage meaningless. Stood at the edge of the gathering. Next to him, Doctor checked her tablet constantly, monitoring the situation from orbit. I have an idea, said suddenly, but I need. They approached the old, explained quickly. She had been studying this genetic memory. She had found something extraordinary, memories from a species called the, who had lived 5,000 years ago. They had discovered a way to broadcast genetic information across vast distances using quantum entanglement. If we can adapt that technology, said, we can broadcast this entire genetic memory across the galaxy. Every species will be able to see it. They will know the truth about the Concordat. They will see the genocides, the conquered worlds, the erased civilizations. It will not stop them from destroying Earth, said. No, agreed, but it will stop them from erasing the truth. The galaxy will know what happened here. They will know what the Concordat really is. Crystals shifted to deep purple, the color of profound determination. Then let us begin. We have little time. In orbit, Thane gave the order. Target the island settlement, he commanded. Destroy the habitat and everything within 10 kilometers. Leave the rest of the planet intact as a warning. The weapon systems charged. Energy built up in the ship's core. On Earth, sensors screamed warnings. People around the world watched in horror as the Concordat ship's weapons began to glow. Captain watched the screens. There was nothing he could do, no way to stop what was coming. He thought about his family and soul. He thought about all the people on island. He thought about the who had run so far only to die on Earth. Then something impossible happened. The sky above island split open. 47 points of light rose from the habitat. They had emerged. They flew upward in formation, their crystalline bodies catching sunlight and throwing it in every direction. They positioned themselves in a perfect geometric pattern between the Concordat ship and Earth. What are they doing? Lieutenant Jin asked. Understood. He had seen the reports about crystals. They could store energy, redirect it, if they worked together, if they synchronized perfectly. They are becoming a shield, whispered. The Concordat fired. Pure energy poured down from the ship, enough to vaporize a city, enough to crack the island in half. The beam hit the formation. For a moment the glowed brighter than the sun. Their crystals absorbed the energy, stored it, redirected it. The beam split into 1,000 smaller streams of light that shot harmlessly into space. The island below remained untouched. But the cost was terrible. 12 bodies shattered. Their crystals could not handle the strain. They broke apart into glittering dust that fell like snow over the ocean. 12 lives, given to protect a world that had shown them kindness. The remaining held their positions. Their crystals were cracked and leaking, but they held. On the Concordat ship, Thane stared in disbelief. Impossible, fire again. Sir, one of his officers said nervously, we are receiving massive data transmissions from the planet. Someone is broadcasting on all frequencies. Block them. We cannot, sir. The signal is too powerful. It is. It is genetic code, millions of years of memories. It is being transmitted to every ship, every planet, every receiver in this sector of the galaxy. Doctor's broadcast tower on island hummed with power, had helped her build it in just 4 hours, using crystal fragments and human technology. Now it was sending the entire genetic memory to the stars. Every species within 100 light-years received the transmission. They saw the memories. They saw the Concordat's true history. They saw worlds destroyed, species enslaved, civilizations erased. They saw the truth that the Concordat had tried to hide for thousands of years. And they saw Earth, a small, weak planet that said no when it would have been easier to say yes. Across the galaxy, something shifted. Rebellions sparked on a dozen worlds. Species that had been classified as integrated suddenly demanded independence. The Concordat's carefully maintained image of benevolent empire crumbled in minutes. On the Concordat ship, alarms blared. Thane received reports from across his empire, chaos everywhere. His superiors were screaming for answers. His subordinates were questioning orders. Sir, 3 more Concordat ships in nearby sectors have reported mutinies. The broadcasts, the genetic memories, everyone is seeing them. Thane looked at Earth below, one small planet, one defiant choice, and it had sparked the beginning of an empire's collapse. He could destroy Earth. He had enough firepower, but what would that prove now? The damage was done. The truth was out. Destroying Earth would only make humans into martyrs. Withdraw, Thane said bitterly. Return to Concordat space. Sorry. You heard me. Withdraw, but mark this world. Mark it well. They have chosen to be enemies of the Concordat. They will learn the price of defiance. The massive ship turned and left Earth's orbit, but as it jumped to faster-than-light travel, Thane's final words echoed across all channels. The Concordat remembers Earth. We always remember. On island, the remaining descended slowly. Their crystals were dim and cracked, but they were alive. Earth was alive. Captain rushed to the landing site. Medical teams surrounded the exhausted. Was there, tears streaming down her face, helping to support them. Collapsed as soon as he touched ground. Caught him. The old's crystals flickered weakly. We did it, whispered. Earth survives, the truth is known, our people. We finally fought back. 12 of your people died saving us, said. His voice cracked with emotion. They did not die saving you, corrected gently. They died proving that the Concordat was wrong. We are not resources. We are not waste. We are people, and people protect each other. Your kind taught us that. Around them, humans and mixed together, helping, supporting, mourning. Above them, the stars looked different now. Still dangerous, but also full of possibility. Earth had made its stand. The galaxy would never forget. The memorial ceremony took place 1 week after the battle. Thousands of people gathered on island, humans and together. 12 crystal sculptures stood in a circle, each one made from the fragments of the who had given their lives. Captain stood at the podium. He wore his full dress uniform. Behind him, the surviving formed a honor guard, their crystals glowing soft blue, the color of remembrance and respect. We gather today to honor 12 heroes, began. His voice carried across the crowd through speakers. Their names were Celes, Pallies, and they were not born on Earth. They did not speak our languages or share our customs, but they understood something universal, the meaning of sacrifice. He paused, looking at the crystal sculptures. Each one caught the sunlight differently, creating patterns of rainbow light. These 12 could have run, they could have hidden. Instead, they stood between Earth and destruction. They chose to protect a world that had given them shelter for only 3 months. Today, we declare them citizens of Earth. Not honorary, not symbolic. Real citizens with all rights and honors that title carries. They are ours and we are theirs forever. The crowd stood silent for a moment. Then, as one, they began to applaud. The sound rolled across the island like thunder. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy changed rapidly. This genetic memory broadcast had done more damage to the Concordat than any weapon could have. Doctor watched the news feeds from space in her laboratory. Ship after ship was leaving the Concordat. Entire species were declaring independence. Wars broke out on a dozen worlds as populations rose up against their Concordat governors. 23 species have left the Concordat in the past 2 weeks, she told, who was helping her analyze new data. The empire is falling apart. Because of the memories, said, because people saw the truth. Because Earth said no, corrected. The memories were always there, but no one had the courage to show them until now. We did that, we and the together. Her tablet beeped, another message. She read it and smiled. What is it? Asked. A ship is coming, from the people. The but said they were destroyed thousands of years ago. Not destroyed, hidden. Apparently some survived and went into hiding just like they saw the broadcast. They saw that the Concordat is weakening. They want to come to Earth. His eyes widened. They want asylum. More than that, they want to join us. They are calling Earth the sanctuary world. The first ship arrived 3 days later. It was small and old, patched together from parts of different vessels. 23 emerged, tall beings with skin that shifted colors like oil on water. They could paint with light, just as it said in his stories. More ships followed. The came, a species of winged people who had been forced to give up flight and work in Concordat mines. The arrived, small furry beings who were experts at growing food in impossible conditions. The came, silicon-based life forms who could survive in environments that would kill most species. Each ship brought refugees. Each species had been oppressed, enslaved, or hunted by the Concordat. Each had seen the broadcast and chosen to come to Earth. Within 2 months, Earth's population increased by 12,000. 12,000 beings from 17 different species, all seeking the same thing, safety. Found herself running the largest refugee operation in human history. She worked 20 hours a day, processing arrivals, finding housing, managing resources. It was overwhelming. We cannot keep up, she told Ambassador during a meeting. We do not have enough housing, enough food, enough medical supplies. The habitats are overcrowded. I know, said, she looked exhausted. But what else can we do? Turn them away, send them back to the Concordat? No, said firmly. Never that, but we need help. We need more resources, more space, more everything. Then we will ask the world for help. The global appeal went out that evening. Ambassador appeared on screens worldwide. People of Earth, she said, we are facing a crisis of compassion. Thousands of refugees have come to our world seeking safety. They come because we showed them that mercy still exists in the galaxy, because we stood with them when it would have been easier to abandon them. Now we must ask ourselves, can we stand with thousands more? She showed footage of the refugee camps. Beings from across the galaxy, living in crowded conditions, waiting for permanent homes. Children of different species playing together despite having no common language. Families huddled together in temporary shelters. We need your help, continued. We need homes, food, medicine, and most of all, we need compassion. These beings are not threats. They are not invaders. They are refugees fleeing oppression. They are us, if we were born on different worlds. The response was overwhelming. Donations poured in from every nation. Construction crews volunteered to build new habitats. Farmers donated food. Scientists offered to help develop new technologies to support the different species' needs. Schools opened classes to teach alien children. Hospitals trained staff to treat non-human biology. The world came together in a way it never had before, not for war, but for welcome. And worked day and night on a project that could change everything. They were building something the galaxy had never seen, a hybrid city. If we combine crystal technology with human construction, explained to the planning committee, we can create buildings that generate their own power. If we add light painting techniques, we can have structures that adjust their internal environment automatically. They understand wind patterns better than any species. They can design ventilation systems that need no power at all. You are talking about using technology from multiple species, General asked. He had been skeptical of the refugees from the start. Yes, said. His crystals glowed confident green. Each species brings knowledge. Alone, we are weak. Together, we can build something no single species could create. How long will this take? 6 months to build a prototype district, said. If it works, we can expand it. Within 2 years, we could house 50,000 refugees comfortably. General studied the plans. Finally, he nodded. Do it. Show the galaxy what cooperation looks like. Not everyone was happy with Earth's choices. Some nations refused to accept refugees. Some groups protested, claiming aliens would take human jobs or threaten human culture. Some politicians called for strict limits on immigration. But slowly, person by person, things changed. An artist taught human children to paint with light. An engineer helped a Brazilian town design a bridge that could withstand any storm. A farmer showed Indian agriculture specialists how to grow crops in drought conditions. A scientist helped Japanese researchers develop new computer processing methods. The refugees were not taking from Earth, they were adding to it. Doctor presented her findings at a global science conference. In 3 months, we have made technological advances that would have taken us decades alone, not because the aliens gave us technology, but because we are learning to think differently. Each species sees problems from a unique perspective. Together, we find solutions none of us could have imagined. She showed examples. Medical treatments that worked by combining crystal storage with human biochemistry. Energy systems that blended 5 different species' knowledge. Communication technology that could translate between any language, even those without sound. This is what Earth can become, said. Not conquerors, not empire builders, but sanctuary. A place where all beings can contribute their gifts and live in peace. The Concordat ruled through fear and force. We can lead through example and cooperation. 6 months after the Concordat's retreat, the prototype hybrid city opened. They called it Unity Point. It was built on reclaimed land near Island, a sprawling complex that housed 5,000 beings from 12 different species. Captain walked through the streets on opening day. The buildings glowed with soft light from crystals embedded in their walls. Art decorated every surface, changing colors throughout the day. Wind channels kept the air fresh without using any power. Gardens designed by the grew food year-round. Humans and aliens walked together, shopped in markets, ate in restaurants that served food for multiple biology types. Children of different species attended schools together. Medical centers treated all types of life. It was not perfect. There were still problems, language barriers, cultural misunderstandings, occasional conflicts, but it worked. More importantly, it proved something. Different species could live together, not just survive but thrive. Found near the central plaza. The old crystals were dim with age, but his spirit remained strong. You have built something beautiful, said. We built it, corrected, all of us. Yes, together, paused, his crystals shifting through colors. The Concordat will not forgive this, you know. They will see Earth as a threat, a place where their former slaves gather strength. Let them, said. We are not afraid anymore. We know who we are now. We are the species that chose compassion over fear. We are the world that said sanctuary matters more than safety. They can threaten us, but they cannot make us regret our choice. Crystals glowed warm blue. You sound like a now. We have corrupted you with our idealism. Laughed, or maybe you learned some human stubbornness. Around them, Unity Point bustled with life. Different voices, different languages, different forms, all living together, all building something new. Somewhere in the galaxy, the Concordat watched and planned. But on Earth, hope was growing. 1 year had passed since they arrived on Earth. The world had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Unity Point had grown from 5,000 residents to 20,000. Three more hybrid cities were under construction. Earth's population now included 62,000 beings from 34 different species. Every week, more ships arrived at the edge of the solar system, requesting asylum. Captain, now Admiral after his promotion, stood on the observation deck of humanity's first real space station. Unity Station orbited Earth, serving as a reception point for refugee ships and a symbol of the new Earth. Through the window, he watched a cargo ship dock. It carried 300 refugees from a species called the, who had escaped from a Concordat labor colony. Each arrival reminded him why Earth had made its choice. Admiral, Lieutenant Jin called from the communications station. "We are receiving a priority message from the Galactic Coalition." Turned, the Coalition. They have never contacted us directly before. They are requesting a meeting. They want Earth to join them. The Galactic Coalition had formed from the ruins of the Concordat. When the Empire collapsed, dozens of species had banded together for mutual protection and trade. They were not an empire. They had no supreme ruler, no hierarchy of species. Instead, they operated as a council where each member had equal voice. Ambassador traveled to the Coalition's headquarters on a neutral space station. She brought with her doctor, and the old insisted on coming despite his failing health. "I want to see this," said. "I want to see what our choice created." The council chamber was massive. Representatives from 47 species sat in a circular arrangement. Some breathed oxygen, others methane or ammonia. Some communicated through sound, others through light or chemical signals. Translation technology made conversation possible. The representative, a being named whose skin shimmered like rainbows, spoke first. "Earth's actions 1 year ago changed the galaxy," said. "You stood against the Concordat when you had everything to lose and nothing to gain. You showed the galaxy that power is not the only path, that compassion can be stronger than weapons. Today, we invite Earth to join the Galactic Coalition as a founding member." Stood to respond. She had prepared a speech, but looking around the chamber, the words felt wrong. She spoke from her heart instead. 1 year ago, 47 refugees arrived on our world. They were broken, hunted, desperate. We did not help them because we wanted galactic recognition. We did not help them because we expected rewards. We helped them because it was the right thing to do, because abandoning those in need would mean abandoning our humanity. She paused, letting the translators work. "If Earth joins this coalition, it will not be as a power-seeking advantage. It will be as a sanctuary world, committed to the same principles that guided us from the start. We offer Earth not as a military base or resource provider, but as a safe harbor, a place where any species can find refuge, a place where different peoples learn to live together." "And what do you ask in return?" asked the representative. "3 things," said. "First, we ask that the right to asylum becomes universal law. No species should be hunted for refusing to be resources. Second, we ask that knowledge be shared freely among all coalition members. The advances we have made came from cooperation, not competition. Third, we ask that no species has authority over another. True equality, not just in words but in action." Silence filled the chamber. Then, one by one, representatives began to signal approval. The vote was unanimous. Earth became the 56th member of the Galactic Coalition. Back on Earth, Unity Point celebrated. The streets filled with beings from dozens of worlds, all cheering and dancing in their own ways. Crystals glowed in patterns of joy, painted the sky with lights, flew overhead in formation. Humans laughed and cried and hugged anyone nearby. Found at their usual spot, the park they had designed together, where plants from 5 different worlds grew side by side. "We did it," said. "Earth is officially part of the galaxy now." "No," corrected gently. His crystals pulsed bright green. Earth was always part of the galaxy. Now the galaxy has finally recognized what Earth always was, a place of hope. They sat in comfortable silence, watching children play. Human children, children, all running and laughing together despite their differences. "My people are dying," said suddenly. Turned to him in shock. "What?" "Though we have not reproduced in 3 generations. Our biology requires specific conditions that no longer exist. By the time I am an elder there will be perhaps 10 of us left. By the time my children would have been born, there will be none. There must be something we can do." "No," said, his crystals shifted to purple, the color of acceptance. "We have known this for a long time, they are ending, but," he gestured at the children playing, "we leave behind something better. These children will grow up in a galaxy where cooperation matters more than conquest, where differences are celebrated, not destroyed. Our genetic memories have been shared with all species. We will never be forgotten. That is enough." Felt tears on his face. "It is not fair." "Life rarely is," agreed. "But it is also full of unexpected gifts. My people were cast out by the stars, hunted across the galaxy, reduced to 47 survivors. We expected to die in the dark. Instead, we found Earth. We found humans who cared more about doing what was right than about staying safe. Because of that choice, the galaxy changed. Dozens of species found freedom. Millions of beings found hope. If the must end, I am glad we ended by starting something beautiful." Doctor made a discovery 3 months later. She was studying genetic memory when she found something extraordinary. This DNA contained not just memories, but genetic markers that could be activated under the right conditions. Markers that might allow reproduction if combined with genetic material from other species. It would create hybrids, she explained too in her laboratory. Not purely, but beings that carry genetics along with another species. They would have some traits, including the ability to store genetic memory. Was silent for a long time. His crystals cycled through every color: shock, hope, fear, wonder. "You are saying my people could continue, in a way." "In a way," confirmed carefully. "But they would be something new, a blending of species that has never existed before." "Nature does this already," said slowly. "Humans have genetic material from ancient species that no longer exist. You carry them forward, changed but connected. Perhaps this is how evolution works, not ending but transforming." The council discussed findings for weeks. It was a difficult choice. To accept meant admitting thee as a pure species would end. To refuse meant certain extinction with no legacy beyond memory. Finally, they agreed. Any who wished could contribute their genetic material to create hybrids with other species. It would be voluntary, and any children born would be raised with knowledge of both their heritages. The first human hybrid was born 8 months later. She had soft skin with small crystal formations along her arms. Her eyes glowed faintly blue. She could store small amounts of energy and access fragments of genetic memory. Her parents named her Myra, which meant miracle in Korean. Held her in his arms, tears of liquid crystal running down his face. "She is beautiful," he whispered. Not human, something new, something that could only exist because 2 species chose to trust each other." Admiral stood on Unity Station 5 years after they arrived. The station had grown massive, with docking ports for 50 ships and residential quarters for 10,000 beings. Below, Earth sparkled blue and green and white, but now also purple and gold where the hybrid cities glowed with alien technology. The Concordat still existed, but it was a shadow of its former self. Dozens of species had broken away. The Empire's borders had shrunk by half. They no longer dared attack Earth. The galaxy watched too closely now. Any aggression against the sanctuary world would unite the coalition against them. New ships arrived every day. Some brought refugees still, but others brought traders, diplomats, students, artists. Earth had become more than a sanctuary. It had become a hub where species met and ideas flowed freely. Found him at the observation window. The old was ancient now, his crystals dull and cracked beyond repair. He had perhaps weeks left. I wanted to see it one more time, said, looking at Earth. The world that saved my people. We saved each other, replied. Yes, we did. Crystals flickered weakly. I have lived long enough to see the end and begin again. I have seen the galaxy transform. I have watched humans prove that a species' worth is not measured by its power but by its compassion. That is enough for one life. That will never be forgotten, promised. Every hybrid child carries your genetic memory. Your history, your culture, your sacrifice, all of it will continue. I know, and I am grateful. Paused. Do you remember the first night I arrived? When I told you we came to Earth because you had no power, no reputation, no importance in the galaxy? I remember. Was wrong. Earth was always important. You just measured importance differently than the rest of us. You measured it by how you treat those who cannot help you, by whether you stand for principle even when it costs everything, by whether you welcome strangers or turn them away. Crystals glowed soft blue one last time. We were cast out by the stars. We had no home, no future, no hope. Then we found Earth. And Earth did not just give us shelter. Earth embraced us. Earth made us family. He reached out with one crystal in hand, took it carefully. Thank you, said, for everything, for showing the galaxy that there is another way. That power is not the only path to meaning. That sometimes the smallest worlds teach the greatest lessons. Died peacefully that night, surrounded by the last of the pure and by dozens of humans who had become his friends. His body was transformed into crystal, as bodies did at death. That crystal was placed in the memorial circle on island, next to the 12 who had fallen defending Earth. At his funeral, beings from 34 species gathered, not to mourn an ending but to celebrate a transformation. They had not disappeared. They had evolved into something new, spread across multiple species, their memory and wisdom becoming part of the galaxy's future. Ambassador spoke at the ceremony. Once told me that there were witnesses, she said. They remembered everything, all the cruelty, all the loss, all the civilizations the Concordat destroyed. They carried that weight for generations, running and hiding and surviving. Then they came to Earth, and Earth showed them they did not have to run anymore. That memory matters, but so does action. That witnessing is important, but so is fighting for what is right. She looked at the crystal sculpture, at the memorial circle, at the crowd of beings from across the galaxy. Today we remember and all the, not as victims or refugees, but as teachers. They taught us that survival is not enough, that preserving memory is not enough. We must also build futures worth remembering. We must create worlds where no one has to run, where every species has value beyond what they can provide, where differences make us stronger, not weaker. The ceremony ended with a tradition. Every being present placed a small crystal near the memorial, fragments donated by hybrid children, each one glowing softly. By the end, the circle blazed with light, visible from orbit. Admiral stood within, watching the memorial glow. Do you think we made the right choice? Asked quietly. Everything that has happened, the conflict, the changes, the risks, was it worth it? Looked at Unity Station above, at the hybrid cities below, at the beings from dozens of worlds living together in peace. He thought about Myra and the other hybrid children, carrying forward the memory and wisdom of species past. Yes, he said firmly. 1,000 times yes, we could have chosen safety. We could have handed over the and earned the Concordat's favor. We would have gained technology and trade, but we would have lost something far more important. What? Asked. Ourselves, answered. Our humanity, our belief that every life matters, our conviction that doing what is right matters more than doing what is easy. Crystals glowed bright green. And because you made that choice, because you stood with the dozens of species found freedom, millions of beings found hope, the galaxy learned that there is another way. That is the real victory. They stood together in silence, humans and hybrid, friends and family, watching the stars. They had been cast out by those stars, hunted and broken and reduced to 47 desperate survivors. But Earth had not turned them away. Earth had embraced them home. And in doing so, Earth had taught the galaxy its most important lesson, that home is not about power or territory or dominance. Home is about taking in those who have nowhere else to go, about standing together when it would be easier to stand apart, about building something better together. They had been cast out by the stars, but they were not cast out anymore. They were home,